All right. Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. My name is Tanya Torres. I'm here with Carey Jones, and we're welcoming you to our live webinar series today, titled "The Donor Egg Mom's Journey to Parenthood." We're excited for you to join us, and we'll go ahead and get started now. So, before we get started, we do like to encourage you to submit any questions, comments throughout the presentation in the Q&A box. You'll find the Q&A box along the bottom of your screen. Usually if you move your mouse or hit your screen, it'll pop up, it'll say Q&A, and it gives you the opportunity to submit your questions anonymously. There is a check mark box that you may need to mark in order to do that. And we will get to your answers at the end of our presentation today. So welcome again. Today, what we're going to be discussing is a little bit about Donor Egg Bank USA, just a quick introduction about who we are and how long we've been around. We're going to be welcoming Carey Jones, and she is a Donor Egg Bank USA mom. She's also our Senior Director of Global Marketing here at Cooper Surgical. And we'll do an overview of our financial plans, including our live birth guarantee plans, our refund plans. And then we will conclude with our live Q&A. Again, submitting through that Q&A box. So Donor Egg Bank USA, we are a frozen donor egg bank. We are the number one donor egg bank, frozen donor egg bank in the US, and we've been around since 2012. We've performed more than 13,000 egg warmings and have helped almost 10,000 families. I've been here since 2017. And I've seen the growth and get us to our largest catalogs in the industry with over 375 qualified screened donors, all of whom have had genetic screening, psychological screening, and infectious disease screening. We offer a live birth guarantee plan, which also includes the opportunity of a refund, which we'll talk about later on in our presentation, but an excellent option to provide peace of mind, security, and a little support throughout your journey. And last but not least, we have a team of dedicated family building consultants, all of whom are really dedicated and ready to serve and help each step of the way, whether that's preparing financially or preparing for the search on our database, or just simply answering questions about next steps and how to get started. So quick intro, like I said. Welcome, Carey. Thank you so much for being here today. I will let you take it away.
Thanks, Tanya. Hi, everyone. As Tanya said, I'm Carey Jones. I have been working with Donor Egg Bank USA for about 5 years now. Going to go a little bit into my story today. I really just want to also say at the beginning of this is my experience, my journey, and I know they're all different. I also want to say I am sorry that you are here, which might sound kind of weird. I'm sorry that the path that you thought you would be on to parenthood, motherhood, is not the one that you're currently on. But I am also very happy that you are here because you're in a wonderful place with access to a fantastic team and high quality frozen eggs and donors that can really make this experience more tolerable. to get to your end goal. So again, everyone's different. People want and need and experience different things, all the different situations in getting here. This is my story. And I'm hoping that there might be something that I learned during this experience that you can take away from it as well. So, not too much on the history, but an important piece to know is that I grew up on the East Coast. I worked in New York City for 15 years in advertising. Made it all the way up to Madison Avenue. And while I was making that career trek, I was dating like a maniac, lots of first dates. And getting older and older. And finally, I started asking my gynecologist when I was like 35, like, should I be freezing my eggs? And, this was years ago, so the awareness was not there. And unfortunately, she did not encourage me to. She kind of did the little like, you know what, honey, don't worry, you'll meet somebody. I was like, okay. And I just kept believing. And finally, I was approaching 40. And now again, that all of you are in on this journey that you're on, you know that that is already late to be freezing your eggs. So I did it anyway. I scraped up the $17,000 um, and went for it. And the results of that were 26 retrieved eggs and 18 froze. And I was 40 years old. So, the doctor in New York just said to me, all you need is one when you're ready, assuming you want one child. But so I felt amazing about that egg retrieval. And I knew that I had a little bit at the time what I thought was insurance, that I would be able to use my eggs when I was ready, and still was hopeful that I would meet the right person. And so kind of went along my journey. I wound up leaving New York, and going cross country, moving to Santa Monica. I had a wonderful life I was setting up there. I adopted my dog Edie. We were outside every day in the sunshine, and absolutely loving it. About a year. And so by this time, I'm, 42. Um, Met my husband in California. Really, an amazing partner in my life. And finally, now we were ready to start our family. And so, if you move to the next slide, Em, first thing we decided was let's thaw those eggs that are, chilling in Manhattan. So we decided, and we were also many of my friends and family already knew that I had frozen my eggs. They know I've always wanted to be a mom. And I was very open with a lot of people. And again, that was just my personality, my comfort zone. Do what works for you is what I want to say. There were some days during this whole journey where I could not muster the effort or energy to tell like anyone what happened that day, because it is such a roller coaster. So I really feel strongly that you get to do what works for you, and your own mental health is extremely important during this whole process because it is brutal. So I chose to share a lot with my family and friends. We, shipped my husband's sperm to New York, and this was the day that they were thawing my eggs and creating our embryos. My friend had sent me her RMA bands that they used that they wore during their IVF journey, and so we took this picture. To send to her to just say thank you. We're wearing them. We're staying positive. We're going to do this. So result of that, unfortunately, zero embryos. The eggs didn't even thaw properly to create the embryos. So all of those 18 eggs resulted in nothing. And that was hard. There were some really dark days there, for me and for my husband. I hadn't fathomed that this would happen. This picture I actually sent to my sister one day, if you're wondering why I have it, because she was like, "What are you doing?" And it's like a beautiful Saturday afternoon. And I was like, this. And, I think giving myself permission to do that was important in this process. I was devastated. I never allowed myself to think for a second that that would happen. So I needed time to process it with my husband, by myself, all the things. So if you're there, I can tell you that I know how it feels, and that grief basically grieving the life that you thought you would have. That's where I was. It just felt really dark and at the end of the road. Um, and I should also mention um, this was in 2021. In 2020, I started working at Donor Egg Bank USA. A friend of mine worked for the company and was loving her job, and she brought me in. And so I never thought that I would be a client. Um, I just so happened to be here, and the way that the universe works sometimes is pretty insane. So, um, from here, uh, we really moved on, and I really, throughout this whole process, really tried to have a sense of humor about it. I was losing my mind. I was so emotional, so sad. On top of it, I work in the fertility field, so we are talking about infertility and challenges and opportunities all the time. And so there was a little bit of no escaping it, but what it allowed for me was a community of people who really understood what I was going through, even though I was not at the point of using donor eggs yet. And I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to have to be in that situation. So what I do appreciate is that we had gone to Kindbody, and our physician there said, "I'm just going to throw this out to you right now because I want you to put it in the back of your mind that if you really want to be a mom and carry your own baby, then using a donor egg might be the thing for you." And I kind of was upset and shut it down and cried. And my husband and I came home, and I was like, I don't want to have to do that. So what we decided was, and at this time I'm 43 years old. So, and if because also, I was like, if my eggs didn't work from when I was 40, are they going to work now that I'm 43, right? So it could have been a bad freeze in New York. It could have been a bad thaw in New York. There's just so many questions throughout this process. There's not a lot of transparency for all of us on this journey. So, in terms of like the why, like why didn't it work? Like, was I just too old and they weren't healthy anymore? Or was there like an issue? Was it science? I don't know, and I'll never know. And I've come to terms with that, but I remember that that was also very frustrating throughout this whole thing. Um, so that said, my husband and I decided I felt strongly I needed to try time, one more time. I was going to do one egg retrieval. And so that's what we decided. I said, I'm 43, I'm going to do one egg retrieval. I could totally see how we get stuck into this cycle of, okay, one more time, one more time, one more time. So I said to him beforehand, I only want to do it once. So let's do it once. Let's go for it. Let's do the retrieval. And you're all also I'm sure, probably very aware of what this is. All the bruises, the swollenness, the soreness, the needles. We did the retrieval, and we had some good news. We got 8 eggs, and 7 of them on like the first day, fertilized with my husband's sperm. And we were elated. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that this is going to happen. And so, very much, waiting, 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 waiting. And unfortunately, we wound up with zero healthy embryos. Um, Again, devastating. And I knew at that point that I wasn't going to put myself through this again. And there was so much grief, so much sadness, grieving the loss of the opportunity of my own genetics, my own DNA, was really, really tough. So and then, some people I think are less bothered by it. I have a good friend that went through this process and she was not close with her family and there were, some, mental health challenges there. And she was like, you know what? I'm happy to not be passing on my DNA. Let's do this. And that was awesome. I'm very close to my family. My dad is 100% Polish. Great grandparent. My great grandparents came over from Poland. My maiden name is Suika, and so I'm very connected to that side of my identity, my heritage. So thinking about not only losing like the ability to pass my genes on to our baby, but also all of that history. When you start learning about DNA and genetics and you go back to your biology classes and the chromosomes and recessive genes and all of that, it's about also like all of the history that is contained in our DNA and who we are and who that makes us over the years. And so I had a really hard time with that as well. I'm very close to my family. I really struggled with letting go. But that's what I had to do. I decided that having a family and having our baby with my husband was more important than anything, creating that life for us. So that said, I did just a lot of work with um, on myself with my husband. Again, I have a very close set of friends and family, and I sought lots of support. And I was just smothered in love and kindness. Um, I spent a lot of time doing meditations. Insight Timer here is like a great um, free meditation app, and they have a lot of pregnancy and trying to conceive meditations that I used a lot. I started screenshotting things like throughout my journey so that I could remember them. Um, this second one is one that my friend Megan sent me at one of the hardest times. Life gets very quiet before all the doors open. I'm learning that what can feel like loneliness is actually grace. Rest, find your strength. It will all change soon. So I'm hopeful that really helped me be at peace with what I was feeling. And I really went through all those feelings and I gave myself the time to do that. And again, that's what I needed. Some people are like, okay, let's do this. Let's just move. Um, as you also know, it's exhausting. And I really leaned on my coworkers at Donor Egg Bank USA during this whole time to be like, is this how I'm supposed to be feeling? Like, is this normal? Our family building consultants are amazing because, like Tanya said before, like, not only are they there to help you understand the next steps and the process and the finances and what all the science means, what's a blastocyst guarantee, like all of those things. It's overwhelming, it's confusing, it's a lot. But they also could help me with the emotional stuff. And that was an important piece of it. Um, I've never cried at work so much. But again, that vulnerability was, also healing for me. And I felt so loved and supported. And so for me, what I started to do was my husband and I decided, you know what, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Let's really do it. Let's live it. Let's feel everything. Feel the lows, feel the highs, celebrate those highs. When we first started this whole process and I was thawing my eggs, I had my little planner out. I'm very type A, and I had, okay, we're going to thaw the eggs on this day, and then we're going to, you know, hear about, day 1, day 5, day 7, and like all of this. And then we'll do a transfer here, and that means I'll be pregnant here, and then our baby's first birthday, our baby will be born here. And I had everything written out for this whole thing. And that was also one of the things I learned through this whole process is just focus on the next step, right? It's so overwhelming because when I had to go through that planner and cross out all of those things that I thought that that was the path that I would be on, and that path and timing changed a million times through this time period. Um, so I think the my learning there was just look at the next step. And when it's time to celebrate, allow yourself to celebrate because there aren't that many opportunities to do that in this journey. So that was really important to me. I realized also I had no idea what I was doing. At this point, I had worked in this field of, donor conception for 3 years. I was leading the marketing team, had learned a lot about the industry. I had been in marketing and advertising for 25 years. Um, when it was my turn to go on this journey, completely like blank. The questions that I had for our family building consultants were like so basic and I just, when it came to me, I didn't know it. I didn't know any of it. I needed so much support and hand-holding and direction. Um, it was an amazing gift to be able to have that. So if you ever feel like you don't know what you're doing because you're new to this, even if you're not, you will still have no idea what you're doing when you start this process because it's different when it's you. Um, and again, everyone's experience is different too. So there is no one size fits all. Um, uh, Once we decided that this is what we're doing, that we were going to use a frozen donor egg to start our family. Choosing a donor was a big, big, big step. So my husband and I were feeling very heavy with all of the decisions and the emotions and everything. So we decided, you know what? We're just gonna like run off to Hawaii for a couple of days and just go like have fun and just be and forget about appointments and timelines and like genetic testing and reports and all of that crap. And we're just gonna go and have a good time. And this is an actual photo that I took when we were there of a rainbow. I have never seen a whole rainbow before. And we were driving and just talking about, you know, being parents and what it meant to us. And this appeared. And just, it felt like magic in some ways of like a sign that we were doing the right thing and that there was a little soul waiting to be our baby down the road. So that's how I saw that rainbow. Um, Once we left Hawaii, went back, we had some serious conversations to have, some serious thinking to do around, okay, we're going to choose a donor. This is a big deal. This is the genetics that we are creating our family with. So, what is on that list? Like, what is most important to me? And that list was so long. And the one of our head of our donor team for Donor Egg Bank USA, she works with basically all of our donors, our clinics who cycle donors. And Lindsay said to me, make your list, make your long, long list. Start there, go through all the filters on the site, and see what pops up. And I think the first time that we did that, there were two donors. And that's not because there weren't hundreds of donors, but it's because my criteria was basically everything. I had an opinion on everything. I wanted our donor to have the same exact heritage as me, meaning Polish, Irish, German, and Swiss. That's what I was looking for. I wanted them to be 5'6", blonde hair, blue eyes, like I was looking for me. And another friend of mine said to me, who is actually a mom of three donor conceived children. They used California Cryobank, our sperm bank. And she said to me, there is no perfect donor because the perfect donor is you. And right now, that's not an option. So we're going to look at this a little bit differently. So things felt heavy for me. And I took this next photo of myself. I remember one day because I was just like, I feel so deflated and defeated. And I'll also say at this point, my husband and I signed up for several egg banks because he was very much like, you don't know if the donor that we're going to want is at Donor Egg Bank USA. Maybe there's somewhere else. And I was like, I know what I know about this industry and what I know about Donor Egg Bank USA. So that's the only place I want to find our donor. But we signed up anyway. We had to do it. He's a researcher guy. So like that's his thing. So we signed up at all the other egg banks. It was just a good experience for me to have too, but just on to understand kind of how it works with other banks. And um, we definitely had the most choice at Donor Egg Bank USA, and the most transparency on just all of the donor information that was available. Um, so anyway, that giant checklist. As we started to work through it, and this is what Lindsay had said to me, start with the big list, and then it will get smaller as you think about, let's start favoriting donors. Let's really look at what's important. Um, and I also started beating myself up a little bit during this because I was like, oh my God, I'm so judgmental. I'm looking at these pictures and like, her eyes are too close together. She has a weird chin. Like, just being like such a jerk, being like the way that I'm looking at these photos. But like, you're okay to do that. Like, this is going to be, the genetics from that will be passed on to your child. You're allowed to be picky. You're allowed to take your time to find the right donor. And so finally, my friend that had kind of given me that advice, the mom of the three California Cryobank donor conceived babies, said to me, think about it like a watercolor. You're going to have like these factual ideas of what you want, and then you start to zoom out from that as you start reading these profiles and you're reading the motivations of the donors. And there are little things in there that you'll connect with as you're spending more time beyond just the pictures. Pictures are important, but reading, why they chose to be a donor, what talents they have, what their interests are. I think every single parent that has used donor eggs or sperm to create their family has had different things that they connected with in when they were choosing their donor. So just be open to what that looks like. And so when my husband and I had that ability, like kind of really listened to that advice and zoomed out a little bit to figure out like what is most important and what feels good, then we were able to make a choice. Um, so that was it became an exciting part was, okay, this is it. We picked. So let's do this. So we chose our donor. We again sent my husband's sperm, and we created embryos. And thank God we created four healthy embryos. So that was a big win, very exciting. So we also had more than one try. I should also say, I didn't have any health issues. I didn't have anything that we knew would that we thought would keep me from carrying a baby successfully, or really like from a transfer, working. So we chose to go with the single egg lot. So we had 7 eggs in our egg lot, and we wound up with 4 embryos. And we also knew like Donor Egg Bank USA has the blastocyst guarantee, so I knew that we were guaranteed to, have at least one blastocyst in that egg lot as a result. So with that 4, we said, okay, let's do this. We'll pick the best one, the highest graded, and let's go. So we did. We tried to keep a sense of humor about what we were doing. If you go to the next slide, yeah, we started and we started my husband got me this t-shirt on Amazon, which I wore a lot during this time. I'm in the making. But the estrogen pills, the shots in the butt, like all of the things. One of my girlfriends actually sent me this picture on the bottom left, and I screenshot all of this stuff and saved all these photos and took all these photos and saved them in a little folder on my phone called Baby Journey because I just wanted to remember. And even in creating this presentation over the last couple of days and thinking about it all, kind of forgot some of it. And so there were things in there that made me laugh and things in there that made me cry. And, spoiler alert by the title of this webinar, you all know that we do have a baby. But anyway, oh, this image on the bottom left, my friend Sydney sent me this because, all of these shots in the butt, she was like, okay, here's how you have to do it because she had been through it several times. And you start with the first one and you quadrant out your butt and you do all these this is where the different spaces where you go and circle it on the Sharpie with a Sharpie on your butt each time your husband does the shots because then you'll remember where the last one was and all that stuff. So it was a funny memory. And so as you can see, my husband's a goofball too. So we had a lot of fun with it. That's the photo we sent to our friends, our close friends and family when we were starting the shots in the butt. So it was, we tried to keep it light. So all this prep for the embryo transfer, which was super exciting. Like I said, we happened to go to Kind Body in Santa Monica. We were so excited to be at this point. Um, I, at that point too, had really worked through so many of the questions that I had about being a donor egg mom. Um, will the baby feel like mine? Will that be my baby? Will it be our baby? Will that baby love me? Um, you hear about all of the magic things that kind of happen between a mother and a baby and based on science and like that when people say, oh, I woke up before my baby cried in the middle of the night. Um, and having those kinds of connections. Well, I have that. That's the stuff I've always dreamed of. Not being woken up in the middle of the night by crying, but of just like having that connection with my child. And I can tell you it's real. I carried that baby. I carried that baby in my heart before we even had him. Um, I got my nails done for transfer day and put that little yellow heart because we did not know if it would be a boy or a girl. Um, that little yellow heart on my nail. Um, just, there's so many little things. My friends, my friend Rebecca gave me her lucky transfer day socks that worked for her. So I, wore those transfer day and I had, my bracelets, my inspiration bracelets from another girlfriend that actually I still wear this beaded one. There were so many little things that people shared with us and with me because we were vulnerable and shared all the ups and downs, and then the joy and the support that we received in return was unbelievable. But again, you got to do what's best for you. You got to protect your heart and your mind. So make your own choices on that stuff. But that was our embryo up at the top there. That beautiful little embryo that got transferred. And of course, we went to McDonald's straight from the embryo transfer. You have to have McDonald's French fries right after. It's an urban legend, but it did work for us. So, um, I had started going to acupuncture also. And I think that's also kind of a big thing. Like, try all the things that you feel good about that, might help your own mental health. Um, the the thing that got me through that 2 week wait, I will tell you, is a mantra that I just created myself because I was like, you're doubtful. There's so many things that happened that were out of our control on this journey. And there were so many um, challenges, and it made me angry with my own body at sometimes. I felt like a failure. I felt like a failure as a woman. I felt like a failure as a wife. Um, my body failed me. I made a dumb choice not to freeze my eggs earlier. Um, when I knew I hadn't met my partner in life by a certain age. There's so much self beat up that can go on. But this was the mantra that I said to myself every single day, many times a day. And during that 2 week wait, I am everything we need to have our baby. And that one line says so much because even saying our baby, it took me a while to feel like that was real while we were choosing going down this road before making the choice to use frozen donor eggs. Um, will it be our baby? And I can tell you the answer is yes. Yes, in every way. Um, when we got the news, I was driving, we were in the car, and our doctor called. And I pulled over before we answered, and I could tell just by the tone of her voice she had good news. So we cried our eyes out. We were so happy that I was pregnant. And then our son, Wilder Cook Jones, was born on October 16th, 2023. And he is the light of our lives. I can tell you with every fiber of my being, we are so connected. um, he really did, I believe, like live in my heart before he was even, scientifically conceived. Um, this journey has been hard, but my God, it's been amazing. And that just reminded me there was one important thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about choosing a donor. When you go through all those things and that giant list, and then you have to step back and realize that nobody's going to be you, and you make a choice around what is the one thing That's kind of what I started asking myself. What is the one thing that I want that child to have of me? Um, like if I could choose from a genetic standpoint. And I decided it was my nose, which probably sounds really silly, but my whole family has the same nose. My cousins, like everybody has this nose. And it's a thing. It's like it's very obvious when somebody's part of our family because we all have this nose. And so that's what I chose our donor based on. That was the most important thing for me was finding a donor that had this a similar nose to me. And literally 3 nights ago, we were out at dinner, my husband and my son and I, and there was an older couple sitting next to us at the table, and the wife was like, "I just have loved watching your son. He is so beautiful, and he just has your nose, and it's just so cute." And I like started crying, and she was probably like, "Why is this lady crying? This is crazy." But like that was my vision, and I so I encourage you to do what's right for you on this path. Read the blog posts. We have lots of good stuff. We touch on the emotional things on our website because those are the things, beyond all the science. And it's funny because for me, it's like you get beyond the point of like, okay, highest quality eggs. This is a great place to work with to help create our family. They're going to be there for me now and in the future. You get through that stuff, and then it's, can these partners support me emotionally too? That's a big part of this and of navigating this experience, I think, in a healthy way. So I do encourage you to, and if you're not comfortable with sharing with friends and family, use those family building consultants to ask those questions and get their thoughts and read those blog posts and the stories where other families of ours have shared their stories. Because there's always little nuggets that you can take from it. And the emotional part was extremely important to me. So thank you. Thank you. Like I said in the beginning, I'm glad you're here. Um, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end. If there's anything else I can help you with.
Thank you so much, Carrie. That was incredible. We so appreciate you being here with us today. We're going to really briefly go through the next few slides because I do want to get to our Q&A. I think it's important for us to save time for that. Um, but I just want to just kind of highlight that you may absolutely give us a call. I'm going to go through these slides really quickly. But if you have more questions specifics to the plans, then give us a call. But I do, if you don't mind just going back one, thank you. I do want to highlight our most popular plan that a lot of our clients do ask about, which are refund plans. Um, these plans do offer you a live birth guarantee. Um, you do have to qualify to participate, and the majority of clients do get accepted into these plans. Um, but you have the opportunity of a live birth or a refund should you not have success in the plan. Some other plans that we offer include our single egg lot, which was Carrie's choice. And we also have our single cycle, our double egg lot plan, all of which have um, basically different options so that it may best fit for you. So give us a ring if you have questions about these plans. We have financial guides that we can send you so that you can read about them and then, kind of just digest and then come back to us with questions. But all of the plans that we have available come with the same blastocyst guarantee. And it's just a difference with the refund plan with the additional guarantee of the live birth or your money back. Very important for everyone to know, we do have partners that we work with. We do accept progeny. There's an excellent benefit through progeny. If you work with Donor Egg Bank USA, you're able to use Smart Cycle towards a single egg lot plan. We also accept Carrot and work with Stork Club as well. So should you have any of those benefits, please, please, please let our family building consultant know whenever you chat with us. And then if you are looking for financing regarding costs, we understand that this can be a very high cost, right, to take care of your financial journey, your fertility journey. We do work with CapEx MD and Future Family, as well as ARC Fertility here in the US. And MediCard is available if you live in Canada. You would need to connect with them directly for their programs and financing options, but these are accepted by Donor Egg Bank USA. And here is how you may contact us. You can always visit our website. We do have a live chat during our normal business hours. We are available from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can email us at info@Donor Egg Bank USA or fill out a contact us form directly from our website. Okay, let's move to Q&A because I did see those questions coming up. Um, and it does look like, so I'll read this. Thank you for your vulnerability, so powerful and so needed. Your origin story feels very familiar, Carey. This person's over 40, finally found husband, failed IUIs and IVF embryo development. One question I have is about half siblings. If we do this and tell our future baby the details of our origin story, what if they want to connect with other siblings? Is that an option? I don't know if you want to share your opinion on that. We can share a little bit of what's available through Donor Egg Bank USA.
Yeah, Tanya, why don't you start and then I can kind of
So,
jump in my stuff.
with Donor Egg Bank USA, we do not have a sibling registry at this time. You are free to perhaps search for siblings, but I would say if you are interested in being connected with siblings, you can always let us know. We can always make a note in your account. And should that be an option that becomes available in the future, then we could then let you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, there's some good questions in there, and some really good points. The research tells us now that it is best to share your child's origin story with them as early as possible and in age-appropriate ways. So there are lots of books now that kind of start to tell those stories. I know we have some of them on our website for how to talk to your children about this. Because I think that is an important thing, and my husband and I have talked about that a lot as well. Um, you know, what are we going to say? Um, you know, there are also, different types of donors available, anonymous donors and ID disclosure donors. So I think that's also an important conversation, for you and your partner to have around, what do we want for our family? Um, our choice. And here's another thing I'm going to say. I think there are a lot of great like Facebook groups out there specifically that are very supportive in sharing, hey, this is what we did or what worked for us. Um, I think it's very much like talk until your throat hurts with your partner. There are so many things to consider, and there is no right or wrong answer. Um, and I do think, the way that the world is that, things like 23andMe exist. And where, the research and the psychologists tell us that the challenges come is in children that are shocked by this, later in life. So I think, again, my opinion, and everyone is free to do as they choose for their own family, but and this is again what my husband and I have decided is that we are going to be very open with Wilder. And I've even most recently, he's 17 months old now. And so like what is an age appropriate way to start talking about that, right? Like, so we have the bunny book and we've started reading that and just say, I personally show him a lot of pictures of him and talk about him in my belly. Because like my body grew him. My body made him. I sustained him. I grew him. I created him. And that's what I want him to know is that that was all from love and it was us. It was me and his dad. And that's the important part. So I think just keeping that in mind, um, as you're kind of navigating the half siblings, etc. Um, every situation is going to be unique. And we decided that we will, if Wilder at some point decides that he wants to pursue, that, we'll support whatever he wants. But that will be, his decision.
Thank you. And that you are absolutely right. I think that the Bunny book, there are good resources, books that help that could be found almost anywhere. So good. That's a good one to point out. Um, Someone asked, and let's see, in your experience, any pregnancy losses, what helped support you the most during those times?
I did not have any pregnancy losses. Um, but I can tell you that, working in this field and from working and talking to many people who have had losses, um, feel it all. Give yourself the time and the space to grieve. That's again coming from someone who has never had to go through that. Just give yourself the time and the space and the comfort. Do the creature comforts, you know, have all the feelings.
I
Eat
think
whatever you want.
I
Go get a
think,
massage.
yeah, the massage. So I was thinking about like your acupuncture as well. Like
Yeah.
sometimes clinics have resources to like different either groups, like Facebook groups, like you said, or just other types of ways to cope. I think it's just different for everyone, you know.
Yeah. And don't do it alone. I think that's also the hardest part is like one of the biggest things I realized during this too is that the more I shared with people, the more people had gone through it. I can't tell you the amount of people that when I started talking about this, they also said, well, I had three miscarriages and like so they had, had similar feelings of loss. And then our culture, our society just doesn't talk about it enough. And it's not fair that you have to go to work or show up in your normal life while you're dealing with this. So again, the support is something, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to post it on Facebook if that's not your comfort zone, but if there's a couple of good friends that are can be there for you, just like accept that kindness as well.
I don't know if, what your thoughts are on this. What would you have wished you knew ahead of time in your egg donor journey that could have saved you time, money, or emotional turmoil?
Mm, it's a great question. Um, I think from the emotional turmoil piece, I spent a lot of time thinking, like staring at the donor photos, like the donor we chose, even just like staring at this person. And I was so obsessed with that choice. I made that choice so big in my head. And a really interesting thing about all of this is that now the details are so fuzzy because it kind of doesn't matter. And I say that with so much love because it mattered. It was the only thing that mattered at the time. And this happened to both my husband and I. We talked about it, you know, after I was pregnant, after Wilder was born. And I was like, "Do you remember if she like had a college degree?" And he was like, "I have no idea." So like again, that stuff that you think is giant on that checklist, it fades away when you have your baby. Um, and I think the other thing from a time and money standpoint is, again, I know a lot of people, my journey was unique. I didn't throw tons and tons into several cycles before, and several losses. But I think the assured refund program is the dream at this point, right? Like that's gonna, if you qualify for the program, that's gonna, which like 96% of people do, like that's gonna guarantee that you get to bring home a baby. And that is like, that's all we want. We just want to be moms. And I think that's the place where um, it's expensive. I'm not saying it's not, but there's a guarantee, and this journey does not have very many guarantees. So,
Um, Someone shared, I'm struggling with if I need to talk with my parents about this. We haven't shared our fertility journey with them. Is this
mm,
okay not to do this? What do most women do in this circumstance? And I'm so confused on how to handle. And I think it's different for everyone. I think it's important to even, again, talk to your clinicians or if there is someone that you're talking to about it, which I hope there is, that you explore that a lot. Um, but I do think that it's really you have to be ready to open that door as well.
yeah. And I think the phrase that you used in the question, it's a great question. Um, have to. You don't have to do anything, you know? Um, if that is not your comfort level to share with your parents, you don't have to. You get to do what is right for you. Um, some people might not understand it. Um, I will tell you from my experience, many of our family members forget that Wilder is donor conceived. And even we do sometimes. Like Daniel be like, "Oh, that thing is so like whatever Wilder just did, that's so you." And I'm like, and it just makes my heart so happy because yeah, like I'm around him. He's learning from me. Like getting he's learning all of my things, mannerisms, ways of being that's, important. It's less about his hair color and way more about shaping the human.
Someone asked a good question if we take split payments. Um, I think definitely I would encourage you to give us a call because I think it depends on what you mean with a split payment. If you mean like part credit card and part cash, or if you mean part loan and part something else. So I would encourage you to give us a call so that we can go over options for you and make this a reality. Someone asked how many rounds of frozen eggs did you do? They may have missed part of your
Yeah,
story,
that's
but I'll let
okay.
you go ahead.
Yeah. We got a single egg lot, and there were 8 eggs in that lot, and we got 4 embryos out of that one single egg lot. So we just did the one transfer. Again, we were lucky. It stuck. I think it was the McDonald's French fries, but again, up to you.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then the last question we have is, did you have psychological support? Um, if so, whom? But I think
Yeah. So much. I think, like I said earlier, like our family building consultants gave me a lot of psychological support. I know they're not trained psychologists, but this is an extremely emotional journey, and it's important to talk about it. Again, whoever it is that you're comfortable with. I did speak to a therapist, also at KindBody before we made the decision to use donor eggs. They required that we have a session with a psychologist that was informed on all the options from here. She talked us through using donor eggs or the options of adoption or adopting an embryo, which we didn't even know was a thing, to be honest. So there are I think if anyone along the journey, any of your clinicians suggest it, absolutely take the opportunity because Danny and I just loved that session with that psychologist so much that we reached out to her several times just to talk us through things. And um, it was a very, there are things you just don't even think about that I think, trained psychologists and psychiatrists can help you work through. So I definitely would recommend it. And I really, because it's also, relying on your partner for all of that, Danny, my husband Danny is he's a very sensitive and emotional and empathetic human, and I'm so lucky. I think honestly, like that's why it took me so long to find him because he's very unique. But it's also a big weight on them. He went through a lot with this. And I think the like support, though you can't just like expect that they're good that your partner is also going to be your psychologist because that's not fair. Like they need to work through a lot of things too, and you get to work through it as a couple. So I encourage you to talk to kind of wherever your comfort zone is.
well, we are at 1:05. I do have to close out our questions, but if you have additional questions, like I said, we do have our team available. We'll try to go through and see if we can get, if there's any other very specific Carey questions, we'll try to get those routed to you and responded to as soon as we can. But we appreciate your time. We thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Carrie, again. It was wonderful to have you on with us today.
Yeah, and I just want to say before you end it, Tanya, I see the
Absolutely.
chat about epigenetics. That absolutely um, made my heart feel better during this process. Just the fact that even though my DNA is not part of Wilder, because he was in my body, my DNA influenced the traits that came out in his DNA. And that's what it is. And so like I think like my nose, like I think that he got, my nose or my donor's nose because I had the same nose and that helped that nose come through in the genetics. So I do think that epigenetics is, well, it's real, it's a scientific fact, and learning about it and understanding it's very scientific and like, but that's how I interpreted it. And I do think it really helped me feel like, you know, I had something to do with how he came out. So, I think it is important.
And we do have a blog, I think, on epigenetics too on our website.
Too.
So
Yep.
it's a wonderful read. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you again. Um, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we hope to see you next time.
Thanks, everyone, and good luck on your journey. Wish you the best.
Take care.